Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Alaska Bound to My Forever Home. Thank you, everybody, once again for your continued support. I'm going to get right to it. We're getting close, so we're going to dive right into one of the last couple of videos we're going to do before we actually head up to Alaska. So, first thing I'd like to talk about is I'm going up a little earlier now than planned with everything going on and the price of plane tickets lowering and the ability to go up early with some new ideas. I will be leaving April 15th. So I had been geared up to do this before, so it didn't take too much preparation to go back to that plan. So I'm excited about this because this opens up a couple of unique new opportunities. Um, the first thing that we're going to talk about today is the tree tapping. In Alaska, the tapping of the trees is more of the birch trees. Maple are not indigenous in that area, and uh, it's a little bit different with birch. So we're going to talk about that today. What I have done, you can buy tap systems from the store, and they vary from store to store price wise, and an average around here you can buy like a 6 pack for like $20, and they're really nice taps, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as usual, you know me, I like the bushcraft ideas, and I've been doing some research, so I have made my own taps. And really, you don't have to overcomplicate, things. Sometimes things are just too overcomplicated. Simple sometimes is the best. So what we have done here is we've taken a length of copper tubing, and copper is a great thing to use for any type of food grade stuff like that. So we have made our own tappers, tree taps out of copper piping. This is the half inch. You don't want to go too much bigger than that. You don't want to make your holes any bigger in the tree than you have to. But this is about the maximum size you want to use. And the great thing about this is section of copper piping, probably about $6. 10 tappers for $6 compared to $6 or 6 tappers for $20 if I bought the store made or the ones from the store. So simply buy your copper pipe, and you don't want to put your tappers into the tree too much, any more than 2 inches. They recommend an inch and a half to 2 inches. So you want to make your tappers about 3 inches or so long, and then you want a bevel on one end, so when you put it into the tree, you want to put it in the tree like so the sap can flow down into the tapper and then out. So you want to bevel one side a little bit more than the other, so it catches all the sap that you can get. And then from there, you simply do whatever you want to do as far as your catch, for bucket, gallon jucket, or gallon jugs. I think it'll depend when we get up there, exactly what I'll use, because I'm going to be limited for what I can bring up for materials. So, I mean, it could be gallon milk jugs, something with a smaller hole, that the sap can flow into, and you don't have a lot of debris that gets into it would be ideal. But we'll deal with that when the time comes. So, the perfect trees to use, you want to at least 8-inch round or bigger trees. And you want your trees to be healthy. There's some things to look into for that. You want to make sure there's no, disease, and the trees aren't scarred up like that. They're nice, healthy trees. And you generally only want to put, because birch tree are overall smaller, and you're only dealing with 8-inch round trees, you generally only want to put one tap, in your tree, waist high, head high, somewhere around there. And you don't want to, obviously, you want to get your hole right the first time. Like I said, about a 45-degree angle, maybe a little bit less. Tap that in there about an inch and a half. And you want to tap your hole just, if you can, slightly smaller. And then you can tap this in lightly, so that way it doesn't fall out. And then you can also make like a hanger or an attachment here. And then what I'm going to do in order to save on the trees, I won't put any other holes in the trees or scar up the tree in any other way. Use a strap system and then have have the actual bucket connected to the actual tapper. So once again, very cost effective to make your own. It's not that hard. Just like in anything else, you can YouTube it. So I'm excited about the tapping and making my own syrup. Now the one thing about birch syrup, it's a little bit different than maple syrup, is the ratio is quite significantly more, or you're going to lose a lot more in the boiling down process. So roughly, you can figure 100 gallons of, you're going to tap 100 gallons to get 1 gallon of syrup when you do the boiling down process. So it becomes a labor of love, especially with birch trees. And I don't know, I don't know too much what they do for industry up there as far as, you know, bigger setups tapping the trees, and I'm sure they do it. But for me, it's not going to be a money-making thing. It's going to be a labor of love. I'm just going to simply be able to make my own syrup. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I have some pretty good birch trees on my property. And if you look at some of the videos, you can see some of those birch trees that are lining the frontage of my property. So I'll have to determine, the healthiest ones and which ones I want to tap and so on and so forth. So I'm starting now with 10 taps. So that's going to give me roughly, 100 gallons. Here, the ratio is actually this, is 1/2 gallon of sap per day per tree for roughly 3 weeks. Now I started, originally I had 8 tappers and I ended up making 2 more. So I have 10 tappers. But that's roughly 10 gallons per tree for 8 trees, which is 80 gallons, which I roughed out to 1 gallon. So now that I have 2 more, I'll be able to get a little bit more. So we're talking roughly a gallon, maybe a little bit more of syrup when we get done. So we'll see. It'll be a learning process. So I'm excited about that. The other thing, being an outdoorsman, the fishing. Now, if I would have got up there in mid-May, all the fishing would have been open and that would have been all great. But I'm going to be up there for the breakup period. So one of the little negatives about that is it's going to be a little bit colder, and the rivers are going to be somewhere in that process. Pretty soon I'm going to check in to see where they're at up there. Is the ice going out from the slower flowing waters of the river. So I thought I'd share with you kind of how I'm going to approach the fishing season. For the early season, the best biters are your rainbow trout, your Dolly Varden, which is a salmonoid, a strain of salmon, and your northern pike. So I'm familiar with northern pike. I've done a little bit of rainbow trout. The Dolly Varden salmon is going to be, or salmonoid, is going to be a little bit different. Now, just like anything, whatever they're biting on is what works best. But what they recommend is fly fishing and little spinner baits. So I haven't done too much fly fishing. I don't even have a fly rod, but you can manipulate a lightweight rod or a longer rod and do some fly fishing. But I got plenty of spinner baits, and there's ways to do different things like that. So the great thing is those 3 in particular are good biters early in the spring, and then it's followed by things like Arctic char and grayling, and then more of your salmon species. So it will be interesting to see what the early bite is, up in Alaska. I'm pretty familiar with how things work down here, so it'll be a learning process, and part of that will be implementing the backpacking. Putting in my backpack everything that I need to survive a few nights overnight with emergency supplies. So really looking forward to that. Now the other thing is the winter camping. And we're going to get more into details on the next video. Try to keep these videos under 15 minutes long. So what we're going to be doing is winter camping, and what that entails is clearing an area, getting the top layer off, getting down to the rocky area. And what you do is you actually make a lean-to, some sort of a structure that you can put your tent near. And then what a lot of people do is you use reflective material on the back of this structure to reflect heat back into your tent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it a step further I'm going to build basically what eventually is going to be roughly about size-wise about half of my house. I'm going to build a box structure open-ended with either 2x4s or 2x6s that can be added onto. And I'm going to create a situation where I can have my tent just on the outside of that, you know, with the door on the inside. Or I can close it off and go inside on the colder days and have a little fire going with a vent on top and do some of my work in there. So that will be another complete video detailing that. So I'm looking forward to that because it is going to be cooler. And one of the things that I'll be doing for the first 3 weeks is what it's going to work out to is I'm going to have a cord of wood delivered to my site, good dry wood, that I'll have for a base for starting my fires to keep warm. So, and then as like I said, the first 3 weeks, my stuff will be coming up the Alcan Highway once the roads get clear. We're talking mid-May again, you know, that we don't have an exact date set, but they're shooting for mid-May. So when I get up to Fairbanks, I have a rental vehicle, a mid-size SUV rental vehicle that I can literally sleep in if I have to for a night or two while I'm prepping my area for winter camping. So a lot of stuff going on, and I'm hoping to do maybe 2 more videos before I head up there. There's some things that I want to concentrate on as it gets closer to the time, family things and stuff like that, but we will have some more content coming up. So thank you. I promise you we will get to more of the questions that will be implemented in the next video. So keep them coming and take care. We'll see you soon.